Now, we've all wanted to have that tour player swing, and if you look at a lot of the pros, they're doing so many things very similar that when I see thousands of recreational golfers, it's a totally different pattern. Let me go over the tour player pattern. I'm gonna give you the exact thing that you need to feel to make this happen, and you're gonna be looking, the overall shape of your swing is gonna be looking like a professional golfer's swing if you follow these drills in just one practice session. So let's go ahead and get into it. What do recreational golfers do? And let's start with these hips. There's two things that are happening here. Number one, as a recreational golfers, most players start down, and I can relate to this because I used to do this, I bet you can relate to it too, is the hips move toward the golf ball. So instead of the hips kind of clearing out of the way like you see with the pros, the hips move toward the golf ball and they tend to stall out and not open, and then the arms flip and the body stays fairly closed. So it's one of these things where the hips bump toward the golf ball and forward. We stand up, get farther away from the golf ball, and then we flip with the hands and arms. That's a pattern that I see all the time with players that don't hit the ball as well as they really could, and they've been struggling to make this happen. What's the pattern we need to have to reverse this? Well, let's start out with the move of the hips going toward the ball and not rotating open. Well, the opposite of that would be the hips going back away from the ball. So almost imagine like you're sitting in a chair behind me here, and I'm gonna sit down, but at the same time, I wanna open my hips up. So imagine like there's a chair kind of facing at a 45-degree angle out toward these houses that I'm gonna sit in, and my hips are gonna kind of move down and back into that chair. So as I shift my weight to the left, my hips are also gonna move down and back. You'll notice that my upper body is almost leaning forward as I'm doing that. And that's okay for now. Let me go over how this is all gonna work in a second. Now the second piece is, when I do that stand up, my body backs away from it, I'm gonna tend to throw with my arms. I lose a lot of that lag and I start casting the club. It's so common. Well, what you wanna feel like is, as you do that sit move, you actually go ahead and keep this left arm across your body. So as you sit, that club stays back in and the left arm's across your body. And then finally, you get this club squaring up from the inside. So you want to feel like the club is way behind your body. It's almost going to feel like this, way back in here. And as you sit and rotate, like the pros are doing, that's going to square that back up, coming down the target line. Now, I know that's a lot to go over. It seems like a lot of kind of weird moves. Let me give you a trick that's going to allow you to put this into your swing right away. Here's what I want you to do. Go ahead and make a full follow through. My hips, my chest, my arms, everything is facing toward the target. If you feel like in order to get your hips this open, you have to open your front foot a little bit, that's completely fine. That'll make things a little easier for most players. Now from there, go ahead and bend forward like you're sitting back in that chair again. So my chest is going to stay over my knees, my front foot, but I'm going to sit back in that chair like I talked about. And then from here, I'm going to try to stay as close to this position as I can and get that club coming from the inside. So my left arm's going to go really across my body, and I'm going to have to rotate as little as possible to get my club coming from the inside. That's that same move. So we're here, bending forward, and then go ahead and get the club back here to parallel from the inside as much as you can get it. That's what the pros are doing. So if you watch this, this is the bad move. Stand up, lose my posture, flip. This is the good move. Sit down, rotate, club away from the inside. So get that feeling of what I'm doing there. And the last piece here is to really let it go out to the right and release that club to hit the draw. So I'm gonna have that same feeling of what I just did. And let's see if I can get that nice power draw as I'm doing that. There we go, perfect. Right down the right center of the fairway, drawing back into the middle. Could not have hit that one much better, and it flew a heck of a long way up there. Those daggone tour pros, they hit it so good. How did they do that? And one of the things that they do really well is when they're hitting shots, this is all shots, so all the way from a wedge all the way up to a driver, we'll kind of go over both in this video, but they're able to open their body, stay down in what most people call covering the golf ball, put pressure on the shaft, and really compress that golf ball with the hands leading in front. Well, there's actually a really simple drill that I'm going to share with you here that allows you to stop doing that. So if you're the opposite of that, if you feel like you lose your posture, if you end up kind of throwing or flipping the club at the ball, your contact and your ball flight isn't as strong as you'd like for it to be, I have an awesome drill for you. Now be sure to watch this drill, because even if you've seen something similar to this, I have a couple of key points with this that really make all the difference in the world when you're doing this drill. So make sure you do this the right way, and you're gonna have a level of solid contact that you haven't had in a while. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, so let's jump right in here. And what we wanna do is we wanna go ahead and take our grip, and then I wanna slide my right hand down to where about half my right hand is on the shaft, half of it's still on the grip. And then I can kind of have my hands looking like this. So it's just like a normal grip would be. I'm just sliding them apart. Split hand grip, a lot of people will call this, but there's a couple modifications that we're gonna do. Now, one reason this is really good, if you're tending to lose your posture, so you're kind of backing up, you're doing the opposite of covering the golf ball, you're losing your posture, your hips are going toward the golf ball, a lot of times you're not opening your body very much. Well, what happens, you have to flip that club to be able to hit this golf ball. Now with a split hand grip like this, you really don't have the length to actually throw the right hand and still reach the golf ball. You know, the club would be much longer if my hand was in the normal position. So if I choke up on it like this, I have to make some modifications. So when I take my split hand grip like this, now as you come through contact, instead of raising up and throwing the club, you have to stay down in your posture, just like the pros are doing, staying in that posture through the shot. So this is a great cheat to give you the feeling of exactly what the pros are feeling as they're hitting the golf ball. Now there's a couple things I want you to focus on when you're doing this. Number one, I want my body to open up. So I really want to feel like my hips open up. I'm going to feel like my left arm is kind of cinched across my body like this. So if we're looking from face on, my arm is cinched across my chest like that, and it's the opening that gets the club to the ball. I'm going to feel like my belt buckle, again, this is a feeling, is pointing toward the target. It's not going to be. It's only going to be about 45 degrees open, but that's the feeling I'm going to have. And I want to go ahead and let my right heel start coming off the ground so that I can actually get in this position. If my heel stays down, it gets really tight. You really can't do that. So I want to really feel like I'm opening up, left arm across, right heel up. That's going to be really good. Now the second piece here, and what's really important, is like a hockey slap shot. Now good hockey players, what they do is they put pressure into the stick. So again, if I do my split hand grip and I go ahead and come down here to contact, if my right shoulder is driving through the shot, then I'm in a great position just like the pros. And I can feel this by taking my split hand grip, putting my club behind the golf ball, and then feeling like my right shoulder drives forward until I put some pressure into that shaft. So you actually see the shaft bending just like a hockey stick would be bending, and I'm pushing that into the ground. That's that pressure I want to feel. The same thing's happening in a golf swing. I'm putting some pressure into this ball with my right shoulder. As it keeps on moving forward, that allows me to take that divot in front of the golf ball and really have my hands in front. So as my right shoulder goes forward, that puts the pressure into there and my hands are in front. Now, if I'm doing this incorrectly, if I'm kind of standing up and throwing at it, my right shoulder stays back and I flip the club like this. There's actually no way for me to reach the golf ball way back here like this. My right shoulder's back and I'm out of my posture if I don't flip to be able to reach it. Now, if you do this drill, all of a sudden, I'm way away from the golf ball now. So this is gonna train you how to not only stay in your posture, but to get that pressure in the shaft so you can feel like you really compress it. Here's what I want you to do to get that feeling. We're gonna go ahead and go down to this shot, feel that pressure in the ground, actually bend that shaft into the turf a little bit, and then from there, drive your right shoulder on through it. So I'm putting some pressure into the ground, right shoulder keeps going forward, and then I'm throwing that golf ball down the fairway. If you're coming out of your posture, you're feeling it way back here. We want to get that thing moving forward. Now, here's another piece with this that ties in with exactly what we talked about. A really big key with this is my right elbow. If I'm losing my posture and I'm throwing the club, my right elbow is straightening very early. It's almost like if I grabbed a golf ball, I would be thinking of it, if I'm losing my posture, as me standing up and throwing everything at the golf ball. Well, in reality, the golf swing, if you look at the pros, is much more of an opening motion, and they're feeling like they're tossing that golf ball down the fairway like that. So same feeling here. Get the split hand grip, put some pressure into it, and look at my right elbow. See how it's still bent. I'm not letting that extend until after contact. So let's do the same thing again. Put pressure into the ground 2 or 3 times, right shoulder's going forward. Notice my right arm is staying bent. And then I can make a couple swings, feeling my right arm bent, and then I'm gonna release that, and my right arm's gonna straighten out as I come into the release. So it's gonna look like this. I'm gonna get a couple pressure into the shaft, come back, right arm bent, and then I'm gonna go ahead and let it go through the ball instead of at the golf ball. And that really helps me to save up that lag, save up that hit until late, and then I'm letting that fly down the fairway. So you'll see here, as I hit this iron, you're gonna hear from the sound of it that I really put a lot of pressure in this ball. It really gets a nice, solid contact sound. Let's give it a whirl. There we go, hit that one fantastic. Nice penetrating ball flight, straight as an arrow. When you follow those drills, that's really gonna help you to get into a position that you're probably not used to if you're coming out of your posture. Now, do you find yourself in your golf swing standing up out of your posture, really losing it? We're going to talk about the relationship of this stick and the stick that goes on your shoulders, and talk about the one misconception that I see almost every single player have happen. A lot of players will have this happen instead of this happening. We're going to go over the right way to do that. Once you understand this, staying in your posture becomes really easy. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, so I'm going to grab two sticks here. And I'm gonna put one across my shoulders, up on the top of my shoulders. Hopefully it doesn't mess with my mic too much. You don't get a lot of static there. And I'm gonna put one through my belt loops. I'll go ahead and put the non-pointing end this way so I don't stab myself. I'm gonna put it just on the left side of my hip here and really have all the extra sticking out to the right side of my hips. I'm gonna do the same thing here. I'm gonna put this up on my shoulders. So there's two different types of tilts in the golf swing. There's what's called spine tilt, meaning your entire spine. And I could tilt these, and they would kind of tilt together if I'm tilting my entire spine. So imagine that being like your entire spine, and it goes like this. That's what we call the stable fluid spine in the Top Speed Golf system. I'm talking about taking the entire spine and tilting it like this. There's also what some people call secondary axis tilt or shoulder tilt. Again, fancy names, you don't really have to have them. But that would be my shoulders tilting in a different way in relationship to my hips. So this will be moving my entire spine to the right. This would be angling back. That's what I call spine tilt. This would be shoulder tilt, where I'm just kind of taking the top of my spine and curving it to the right. Now, if you're standing up, what's happening is, as you swing, you stand up out of your posture, you get a lot of this tilt where you bend to the right with your shoulders, but it's all that second tilt. And these two sticks are going to be overlapping somewhere back here. So if you stand up, your body tends to stay closed. See how my hips aren't very open there? And my shoulders, when they tilt, this stick is going to cross this stick somewhere back here. So it's going to look a lot like this in the swing. Stand up, and then this shoulders tilt that way. So that's what's going to happen in a swing where we lose our posture. We end up flipping at it. If you don't have any lag, if you don't have forward shaft lean, a lot of that comes down with tilting the right ways. That's the wrong way there. That's the most common way. You don't want to have my sticks crossing back here somewhere. What you want to have happen is you want to open your body, and you don't want to have those sticks crossing, so you'll have your body angle back, but the sticks aren't crossing. That shoulder isn't tilting until up here near impact. I want to have those sticks cross for the first time as my bottom stick is almost pointing to the golf ball. It's a bit of an exaggeration, but that's exactly what you need to feel. So I'm going to be rotating around my spine back here, and I don't get into that tilt until I'm up there. So I really want you to put these together, and I want that stick to hit this bottom stick. If you're doing it wrong, it'll hit back here. If you're doing it right, it'll hit up there. So I want to get my hip stick pointing toward the golf ball. Boom, shoulders and posture there. As I come on through, then they'll go ahead and separate again. If you're having them tip back here, going to be a struggle in the golf swing. A lot of flips, a lot of lost posture. If you're having them hit here, then you're going to be in your great posture, be able to really make a good golf swing. So go ahead and try that out a few times. Then I have a bonus drill that's also really good for this one. It's going to help you. So after you get a few reps of that, now we're going to go ahead and make a golf swing here, and you'll notice how I don't dip this way, and I'll wait until I'm opened up, then my shoulders are tilting that way. There we go, nice straight shot, right down the middle, just a little tiny bit of a fade, felt really good. Now the second piece here that I really like working on with this stick, I'll go ahead and put it through the belt loops again, is you also get a lot of power with this. So as you rotate back and through, what I want to have happen here is I want to make sure these sticks are moving. If I tend to stand up, a lot of times what'll happen with this stick that's on my hips is I'll make my backswing and I won't really rotate it very much. And I'll make my downswing and I won't really rotate it very much. So the hips aren't really moving. If you want to stay in your posture and have power, we got to get these babies moving a little bit. So in my backswing, what I want to have happen is I'm going to slide the slack to the other side. I want to have this end of the stick get as close to that ball as I can. So as I go in my backswing, now I'm going to see my shoulders are angled down like that. And this stick is almost getting to the golf ball. I want to get it probably a good foot, maybe 2 feet in front of the golf ball here. I want to get that hips rotating that much. That's going to allow you to get a lot of power. That's going to really load up the body so that now I can really wind up and get some speed. If you're not very flexible, that's completely fine. You can still do this. All you have to do, loosen up this left heel a little bit so that as you rotate, that comes off the ground slightly, and all of a sudden, that completely frees up your body. You're going to get a lot more rotation. And then finally, let's slide it through again, all the way on the other side. Here is my backswing, great hip rotation. You see this has really moved a lot. Downswing, those are overlapping. Follow through, they're going to separate again, but I want this stick getting at least a parallel with the ground. Again, if you're not very flexible, I can be stiff as a board. There's no separation between my hips and my shoulders. There's no flexibility having to happen here. All I'm doing is going ahead and letting this foot rotate all the way up to the toe. I'm opening this foot up, so I go ahead and let it pivot open. And this is just like standing and talking to somebody. I want to see this stick parallel, this one going a little farther past it. So if I stand here, as I open up and let my feet rotate, now anybody, regardless of the flexibility, can finish their swing like this. So let's put it all together now, and let's talk about how to make a great swing in your posture and really just hit a lot of solid shots. So number one, we're going to make that backswing. Go ahead and rotate to the backswing, get this stick pointing as close to this ball as you can. Number two, in the downswing, we're going to do the same thing, and I don't want these sticks to cross until I get to contact. Then they're going to cross. As I come to a good full finish, I'm going to let my hips rotate all the way around using my feet to make sure that I can do that, and this stick should be pointing perpendicular to the target. I don't want to finish here or I'm never going to have any power. I'm just going to be kind of flipping at it. So when you put those together, you can see here, that makes a great swing where I stay in my posture, and really anybody can do it. It's all about just learning these motions. Now there is one thing that really ties this all in together. If we do nothing but the drills in this video, then we're going to be missing out on our true potential, our true power. The last piece in there has to do with this top stick and what this one does. I talked about rotating the bottom stick down and through, but if I don't get this top stick right, I'm never going to have as much power as I want. I'm never going to have the full potential. Most players that I work with hit it anywhere from 20 to 50 yards farther in a very short order of time just by unlocking some of these things I'm talking about here. With this top stick, I want to go ahead and make sure that I get it rotated all the way past the ball at the top of the backswing. In the follow through, I want to make sure that I rotate it all the way on through to a good full finish. Now again, most people are moving their body in a way where they're just too stiff and too tight to make this happen. Once you learn the right way to move your body, then it becomes really easy. You'll be amazed how much more flexible you feel. I'm going to play a preview of a video. It's going to show you exactly how to do that. I call it the power turn in my Top Speed Golf system. It's one of my 5 real fundamentals. And the reason it's so important is because it helps you to get huge amounts of distance, no matter how old you are, no matter how young you are, no matter how flexible, no matter how fit you are. Really none of that matters. You're going to be able to hit it a lot farther once you learn this piece of information. So I'm going to play a preview of that video here in a second. All you need to do is go ahead and click the card that pops up on the screen, or down below in the description, go ahead and click the link there and you'll get instant access to that video. I can't wait to show you some of those secrets and help you bomb it past your buddies. Let's go and get started. Most of the instruction out there today is killing you of your power. The things that they're telling you to do can make you hit it shorter, and worse than that, not even any more consistent. I'm going to go over some of the real secrets to powerful, consistent golf in this video. Let's go and get started. So here's some of the keys into making that happen. If you want to incorporate this in your swing, let me break it down exactly what you should do. Number one, let's focus on the belt buckle. This is another big misconception. I want to keep that belt buckle facing the ball so I can really stretch out my midsection and really get loaded up. I'm not a big fan of that. That's really going to kill your distance. In your backswing, I want to feel like that belt buckle rotates to the right and you really let your hips and legs be loose. Notice how my legs are moving here. I'm not trying to keep those rigid and tight, or I'm really just taking all the speed out of my swing. All right, so on that one, I really felt like I let my belt buckle rotate back. And a good key to this is feel like your knees are loose. Feel like when you make your backswing. Piece number 2, let's go ahead and rotate our shoulders. When I let my lower body rotate, my upper body can rotate a lot better also. So if I let my hips move, my shoulders will move more. So here, once I've got my hips working well, I'm gonna add to that my shoulders making a big rotation. On average, on the PGA Tour, players are getting about 120 degrees of shoulder rotation. I don't see hardly anybody getting less than 90 degrees. So it starts with the hips, knees nice and loose, allow the belt buckle to rotate, and then from there, so those are 2 really big keys. But here's the truth. There's one thing, and if you don't do this correctly, nothing else is gonna work.